An auto detailer going to carpet college.
You're the first auto detailer I've ever met.
In this episode of Nick Goes to Carpet College, I came here to Interlink Supply to learn all of the secrets of the trade from carpet cleaning professionals. Here's what I learned and whether I think it's worth your time or money to come. Just go back and forth. Hey everybody, Nick from Hawk Pro Detailing, joined by Dane Gregory here, the instructor for the IICRC Carpet Cleaning Technician class. I was outnumbered by folks who were going to be in homes, but it was a super interesting experience, and I guess I just want to have this conversation with you about, what advice you have for all the auto detailers out there who don't know about pH, maybe aren't as familiar as I now am about carpets. One thing that I found fascinating was that like 74 to 79% of all the soil that we find in a carpet is dry. It doesn't dissolve in our chemicals or in our water. So we just got to get the dirt out of the cars.
Get the dirt out. And the whole thing about it is getting the dirt out. You got to get it dry. So you got to have the right tools and the right equipment to get in there and make that happen. So on carpet, you got a lot of choices for that. In an auto detail thing, because you've got so restricted of a place for this, you want to make sure you get the right tools to get in there. Lift the fluff and fluff the pile and get all the soil out. If you get it out dry, then go in and figure out what you have to do from that point forward.
I don't know that most auto detailers know much about the chemistry, and I'm not saying that I'm some master chemist or scientist now, but what are some basic pieces of information that somebody cleaning someone's nice car should know about the chemicals they're using, what steps to take?
Okay. Well, you've got two sides of the pH scale. You can either be on the alkaline side or the acid side. Most of the soils that you're going to find in carpet are going to be acidic. They're proteins, they're things coming off of humans and animals, things like that, which you may have the same thing in cars, but I think you can find a lot more mineral soils in cars because you're coming in right from outside. So you're picking up stuff that way, so you're going to have a lot of dry particulate that's going to be in that space. Neutral cleaners will work fine in certain situations. The idea is getting as much of that dry soil out.
One issue that a lot of people get out here in Utah is salt stains.
Sure.
I think there are a couple things that I've had people ask me about. Salt stains, coffee stains. What's your best advice for an auto detailing situation on let's just try salt?
Okay. Well, salt is dissolving ice, and so you've got a lot of that that's still liquefied now because it dissolved some of the salt as the ice was melting and got into the water, brought into the car. Okay, so it's going to warm up in the car and it's going to float to the surface and be just some calcium on the surface of the carpet. Using an acidic product, you're going to dissolve that calcium. It works that way in stone care, it works that way in other places. Acid dissolves calcium. So you'll be able to put a spray in there, maybe take a brush across it, and all of that dissolved material will then be able to be extracted out of the area.
So I could just do a acid agitation, rinse it with hot water, and then go about cleaning the carpet as I would normally.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, you can do it that way.
Salt is so difficult in these climates. What about a coffee stain on like a tan carpet? And you can tell it's coffee because maybe the customer said, "Hey, I spilled a lot of coffee here."
A lot of coffee. Well, and coffee today is a little different than it used to be. Black coffee from the percolator that you brought from home in your little travel mug. Now it's Starbucks or Caribou or some other thing like that, where you've got milk and cream and other stuff in there. There's a lot of things. You might get the coffee out, but remember what we said in the class. The coffee stain removers, now you're using a bleaching action to take that out, and you're really not removing the coffee, you're only changing the coffee to a different color, and you're making it non-visible anymore. So that's really the key in that situation. If you can extract some of the coffee out that's soaked in, but remember what we said about automotive upholstery or automotive carpeting. You don't have like padding underneath to make it more cushy. You've got a sound deadening product underneath that carpet, which is not rubberized or made of a different, it's made of a very absorbent material. So the coffee didn't stay in the carpet, it soaked through the carpet and went into that. Might even be laying on the chassis or on the metalwork that's underneath that material. So the stuff in the carpet should be fairly easy just to use an oxidizer or reducer, typically a reducer, to remove it.
We hear a lot about wicking, and I learned more about what wicking is. My understanding is, as the carpet fibers dry, they dry from the base to the top.
Correct.
What do auto detailers need to know about wicking and how to prevent it? Because that's one of our biggest nemesis when we're under the gun for time.
Sure.
And we're trying to deliver results for customers.
Well, carpet's porous, whether it's in an automobile situation or it's on a floor in a home. The liquid that you spill on it doesn't stay on the surface. So it's through the carpet, through the cushion, and into the substrate, whatever that is. So in an automobile, you've got that real fibrous, sound-deadening material that the coffee has worked its way into there too. As you clean that surface with hot water or any type of water extraction, any of the liquid that's down below there is going to begin to wick up as the material begins to dry, because it's drying from the base of the tuft of the carpet all the way to the tip. It may pull some of that from underneath that was right near the surface. So the liquid has evaporated away, but you've left behind whatever makes the coffee the color the coffee is. So that's wicking, and so it's basically the upward flow of moisture bringing what was underneath the carpet up to the surface of the carpet as it dries.
One piece of technology, that, or you could describe it better, but encapsulation seems to be a really nice way to prevent wicking. Can you describe what that is and how maybe even when the carpet's wet after I've rinsed it, that could help prevent wicking?
Sure. With the encapsulation, you're working with a polymer detergent that is going to surround the carpet fiber and keep new soil from adhering to it. But because you put it in a low moisture format, you're not wetting the carpet enough to create a wicking action. So it's usually when you're doing an extraction piece where wicking becomes an issue, or if you overwet during your encapsulation process. So the whole idea, what we talked about in the class with encapsulation, was to mist the carpet area very finely with a mist product and then use a lot of agitation to brush it.
Let's say you've rinsed after your hot water extraction, the carpet's still kind of wet, and you're like, oh crap, this is going to wick. At what point can you lightly spray your encapsulation solution?
At any point.
At any point, okay.
At any point of that time.
Okay.
Yeah, you can spray that. There's also the product that we talked about here called Spot Stop, which is an anti-wicking encapsulant spray designed just to do that. So it's got a little more polymer in it to make that so that the soil can't work its way up that fiber. It's going to stay down below the carpet, which if the customer doesn't see it, it doesn't exist.
One thing we've talked about, high on the pH scale, is alkaline. That's usually something people use to pre-spray and to do some heavy hitting. We want to rinse with something more acidic to neutralize. Where do these Encap products sit on the pH scale? I know they're pretty safe to use, pretty neutral, but we're talking about how they can help you with wicking, but we're also talking about, hey, even if you don't extract, you could put some of this on lightly, agitate, and then vacuum it up when it's dry. So it's got a lot of versatility to it, and I don't want to confuse people. But where does it sit on the pH scale if people want to learn more?
They're just slightly alkaline. Typically, they're 7.5, sometimes up to 8. So they're not extremely alkaline, and that way you're not having to have to rinse with a strong acid to bring it all back to pH 7. So the Encap thing is really taken off on the commercial carpet cleaning side. And I, to be honest with you, until you're the first auto detailer I've ever met, so I don't know what's really popular in that world. But after listening to you and hearing the questions that you had over the 2 days of the class, I think there's some tools from the carpet cleaning industry that may be very interesting to the auto detail world.
I feel like this crazy person who wants to be an ambassador from your world to my world, and maybe it's not even my world, but it's definitely your world of carpet cleaning. What do you make of an auto detailer taking this class? What do you want to say to my, my peers in the industry who, we have a lot of things that we have to figure out. Making cars shiny, decontaminating, polishing, ceramic coatings, customer service. I mean, there's so many things in your world too that I feel like these industries are very similar, but they're obviously different. But what message do you have to auto detailers? What do you make of me being at this IICRC carpet cleaning technician class?
Well, I like your passion. I told you that early on when we began to talk offline. But the idea is we're basically inside the car only, and we're dealing with fabrics. So whether it's upholstered seats, whether it's the carpet or things like that, we don't get outside of that. There's really nothing outside in a car that I can think of that would really work well in here. But on the interior side, you need specialized tools because of the way that cabin is structured. And they do have some crevice tools and things that actually have sprays on them that you can pick up to put on your extracting unit. But I think if they took the class on carpet or upholstery, either one, they're going to learn a ton about fabric. And that's really what you want to know, because we spent the whole first day just talking about the product, the fibers, how the stuff is constructed and everything else. Knowing that information, I think you're going to be better service to your customers.
I think that a lot of us in the detailing industry know about the impossible carpet, but we don't quite know about why. Are there a couple of bullet points you could share? I know we talked about them in class, about how a new carpet can be a lot different from an old carpet that's perfectly clean, right? Even if the old carpet's perfectly clean, it's going to look different than a new carpet. Can you talk about what carpeting is? I mean, just the basics for...
Well, right. The automotive carpet is very similar. There's probably not a twist in the tufts and things like that, because it's more of a plush style carpet, which means it doesn't have a lot of twist in it. It's not a very high nap material. So there's a couple of things that I would probably think of in that way for bullet points would be understand the fiber itself and how the fiber releases soil, and then realize that in that very confined space that you're in, you have a lot of things happening to the material itself. You're losing fiber, you're abrading fiber because plastic fibers will scratch and scuff underneath a lot of that particulate soil, and you're going to have dull areas in there that you're really just not going to be able to bring back, but you're not dealing with soil. You're limited when you're cleaning carpet to removing soil, and that's it. If there's damage to the fiber or damage to the material, you're not able to really control that.
A lot of detailers put on some all-purpose cleaner, agitate, maybe hit it with some steam and hot water extraction, and walk away. Is that okay?
Well, I want to know what your all-purpose cleaner is. I want to know where the pH lies on that.
Let's say it's over 10.
Okay, then I would be concerned with that. I would find some carpet detergents from any local supplier in your town that sells janitorial supplies or carpet cleaning supplies, and find something more in the neutral range that you can really aggressively scrub. I would rather work with that, and I don't have to worry about residues attracting more soil. So I want to stay on the neutral side.
I had a couple people reach out on YouTube and say, well, what's something I can just go to Home Depot and grab? Are places like where we're standing now at Interlink or Ramsco, I mean, are they as ubiquitous almost as some? I mean, what's your message to someone who thought Walmart but maybe didn't even realize that your world existed? Like, where can they learn more? What would you suggest they do? Because I just walked in these doors about a month ago and my mind was blown. You know, and I'm just and now I'm at a carpet cleaning class.
This is very specialized. There's probably more of these stores than there are Home Depots and Lowe's combined. So just get on Google and find out where janitorial supply stores are or carpet cleaning supply stores. And then go in there, meet the people, tell them what you're doing, and let them direct you to the products that they sell.
We learned so much about carpets and being a technician in this world, but one of the first things we started with is sales. And I think that detailers out there know we have to be marketers, salespeople, and then technicians. You know, can you just talk about the importance of you know, having integrity and standing by your product, but focusing on sales? Because we're all out here trying to make a living or maybe thinking about starting a business.
You got to have a plan. You know, it's a business, and so you got to have a plan to operate that business, and part of that business is you're going to have to figure out how to sell people things. And if you're not good at that, or you're reluctant at that, or you're not trained in that space, it's not as easy as people think it is. It's not just having a real good patter or some other type of, you have a gift of gab. You're going to know what you're talking about. So the training classes that we do here give you the terminology to sit down with the customer and say, here's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be working this way. And because I have this information and this knowledge, I'm worth this amount of money. And you have to figure out what that is. You know, selling is leading the customer to a place where they want to make a decision to buy. And so we're moving them along by prodding them with questions or asking things or giving statements that are helping them understand that we know what's happening, we know what we're doing. And you're going to feel comfortable in that space.
Hey Max, let's give our final thoughts on Carpet College. Well, we didn't even really get into the 2 days and all the stuff we learned because I want to share that for a separate video.
Daddy.
What?
What's that called?
That's a wand, which goes on a truck mount. But you look at a wand a lot like you'd look at a hot water extractor wand. This is what I would call my carpet cleaning Bible.
Hey, Daddy.
Like, I've taken notes for 2 days about all kinds of cleaning techniques, certain ways to attack stains.
That's a hose.
That's a long hose. And that's a long couple of days. I actually learned a lot that is going to help. It is connected to a truck. It's going to help me. It's going to help you. Make sure to stick around. I'm going to review some of the products and techniques that I learned about this weekend. It was worth my time. I hope it was worth yours. Thanks so much for watching.
Look at that big...
It's a truck-a-truck-ah!
That's a cleaning truck. That's a cleaning truck right there. That's a cleaning truck.